Okay, so this video is just going to introduce the photoreceptors, and in particular the one that we really need to know about is the rod cell. So I'm just going to label this and then just talk through some of the key parts of the rod cell. So we'll notice to start with, okay, it's like we'd expect, okay, it's got a nucleus. One of the key things I want you to be aware of, it's got many mitochondria. So what we should be thinking about this then is that it's going to be an active cell. Okay, at the very top we've got these flattened vesicles, okay, and inside of these, or actually embedded into the membrane, we've got a substance called rhodopsin, and this is the light sensitive pigment that's going to be found within the rod cells. So if you remember that we were talking about rod cells, and we realised that these were the cells that really were involved in light detection, whereas it was the cone cells that were more involved in colour vision. Now if we could look at rhodopsin, we'll see that it's actually made of two different pigments. The first one is a lipoprotein. Okay, so lipoprotein, and that is called opsin. Okay, opsin. And we also have a vitamin A derivative. So if you think about the vitamin A, we've talked about vitamin A before at GCSE, and we always think of it as related to the eye, and this is the reason. So it's a vitamin A derivative, and it's called retinal. And it comes in two forms. There are two forms of retinal. The first form is we call cis retinal, and it's actually an isomer. It's not two forms, it's an isomer, and it can change. It's a reversible reaction, but it can change into trans retinal. So it's literally when light strikes, it's going to make this change, and what's actually going to happen is rhodopsin is going to separate into these two different substances, but we'll come back and we'll talk about that in a bit. So the first task, really, what I'd like you to do is if you could just draw this out yourself, make quite a big image of it, and we're just going to go through step by step as to how an action potential is actually going to be generated in this cell. And there's a different cell just below it. If I can move this, you can see I've got the beginnings of the cell here. Okay, this is a strange little cell. This one is called a bipolar cell. And literally it's going to be surrounded by, first of all, the rod cell up here, but it's also going to synapse with another type of cell. I'm just going to draw the beginnings of it here, and we're going to call it a ganglion cell. Okay, a ganglion cell, which is actually a sensory nerve cell. Okay, so sensory neuron, and this is going to basically bring the signal to the brain. So this is going to be taking the signal to the optic nerve. Okay, so that's the general structure to start with. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set you a task of drawing this. The next video that we have is going to go through the story then as to how these two substances are going to separate and how we're going to be able to basically prevent an action potential. This is going to sound strange, but like I said, I'll talk about it in the next video.